Okay, so sorry, it always takes a minute to get things started. I just wanted to say hello to everybody. It's been a while. I wanted to give a little update about what's happening, just in my case and also other cases with the Family Court Anti-Corruption Coalition. Um, First of all, I'd like to start off with a case that has been going on for well over a year now that we've been working on. It's the case of Tracy Gamble Fryer, and it turns out that right at the 5-year mark, they decide to have a 15-minute meeting. Uh, it's really not it's not actually a hearing, okay? And the ex decides to hire a brand new attorney who has never worked on the case before, of course. Judge Michael Powell, my favorite judge. Well, he's not my favorite, but um, the one who recently assisted my ex in international kidnapping my child by issuing a bogus, absolutely bogus restraining order based on two false police reports by by the Los Angeles Police Department. Um, I believe he did this also in part as retaliation for all of the complaints that I've been filing, not only for Tracy's case, but also for other people's cases. He's just a total psychopath judge. And well, he is under investigation and he's been removed from Department 22. Unfortunately, in cases like this, I mean, judges, they always do this. They take the judge away, but then they put him somewhere else, and so that they can do damage elsewhere. Um, so what's happened is this woman who has been married for almost 20 years, she was deemed the to not be even a putative spouse, which is like, this is a matter that is like it's a threshold. I think it's a substantive or threshold issue or whatever it's called. It's a substantive issue, and it's a jurisdictional issue, and it's something that has to be handled at the beginning of a case, not at the end. Whether or not someone is a spouse or a putative spouse, which would be like, treated as the same as a spouse would be under California law, with the with in terms of community property and things like that. No, they waited till the very last second. Oh, and by the way, there's no minute order. Of course not. And it's the most bizarre thing ever. I was there witnessing it. Oh, by the way, of course, they had a brand new judge that's never seen Tracy before. And her ex's attorney had the audacity to say, "And Your Honor, my client has never thrown this woman and her children out of the house." I'm like, excuse me? Wanted to raise my hand because I'm a witness to it. I mean, we shot this live on Facebook, having her and her minor children thrown out of the house. So in this particular case, she lost everything. She's still in a homeless shelter with her children. Her husband is everything. And now this is the whole issue of what to do with her belongings, including her mother's ashes. And of course, the judge, if you can call him that, I like to call him like the closer, or the cleaner, like the person that comes in the end and just like takes that last extra, you know, uh, takes a hammer to the person, right? And make sure that they don't follow any of the rules of civil procedure. uh, you know, what happened in that particular case, it was like she went into the hearing expecting to be sent to Department 2 for long cause scheduling so that they could actually have a real trial finally. And the judge was like, "No, I've decided there's no need for a long cause trial. It's going to happen right here, right now." Where are your witnesses? And she's like, excuse me? What now? Totally unprepared for a trial, although she did excellent. All things considered, she did extremely well. But I was very proud of her watching her, I mean, just to see somebody's life just completely destroyed and still to be able for her to be able to stand up and just, speak clearly and very definitively. One thing she just kept saying over and over again is like, he threw us, he not only did he throw me out of the house, he threw our children out of the house and rendered our minor children homeless. Is that even a thing? Like, how dare you say that I'm not the putative spouse? We have 2 children together that I raised in a house that we've been living in right after our second child was born, Sorry, I'm talking in the first person for her. But anyway, it was pretty disgusting to watch. You could tell that the judge was very uncomfortable because he knew that he was dealing with a dirty mess. And he also knows that now he's probably on my shit list too. Of course he is. You're on my shit list. I don't even know your name, but you're definitely on my shit list, meaning complaints will be filed. I said to Tracy was like, remember Tina Turner and Ike Turner? She just walked away from everything. At this point, this is what you got to do. Walk away. You did an excellent job fighting your ass off for your home, for your children. Now you've got to let it all go. You got to move on. And there are other ways that you can get justice. You can certainly file a civil suit against him. Even the judge, this is kind of interesting. Even the judge isn't now on my shit list, said to Tracy, there are other remedies for your concerns, something along those lines. What he's really saying is you can sue the motherfucker out of this guy, just in civil court. But herein lies the problem. When you're dealing with LA County, it doesn't matter where you go. I mean, they all talk, all the judges talk. When a case is fixed, the case is fixed. So you have to think outside of the box when you are dealing with cases like this. And it really comes down to filing complaints. So I guess my message is file your complaint. If it's against an attorney who fucked you over, file the complaint. Follow up. Same thing with a judge. And just continue to do it, because even though you might be cynical and think, oh God, there's just nothing's ever going to change. Things are changing. There's been a change of the guard over at the state bar. Okay. The Commission on Judicial Performance, they had a thing last November, and I believe again in February, which I missed the February one, sadly. But just to do an overhaul of how they handle complaints against judges. This is in California, and they're seeking public input. So, don't think that your complaints will go nowhere. Because even if I've filed so many complaints that I could absolutely, and I have said, have gone nowhere. But I know that they're part of a bigger picture. So even if it's just filing the complaint for the greater good, as an act of citizenry or whatever you want to call it, just as someone that because eventually things add up, and you will help other people, and it will come back, So Judge Michael Powell did a terrible thing. He basically duplicated what Judge Tamara Hall did back in 2016 and in 2015. And so it's going to want to be one hell of a lawsuit, and an interesting lawsuit, just to be able to show how in my particular case, how judges are just issuing these domestic violence restraining orders for the purpose of, like in Tracy's case, rendering her homeless, stealing her property, taking all of her rights to community property away from her and her children. And in my case, of literally assisting in the international kidnapping of a child under color of law. So if there's anybody out there that's been dealing with fake restraining orders, especially LA County, because I'm really familiar with the LA County ones, but I'm noticing that this is happening across the board, across the United States, and also in Canada, because that's how he did it. That's how he ended up taking my son as well. Is he did an unnoticed protective order, and we have this little loophole in Canada where if you get an unnoticed protective order against another party, and then you give it to a police officer, and then the quote unquote police officer has this belief that this restraining order protective order, I should say, has been violated, even if they know that the protective order has not been served, they can still investigate what they believe is the violation. And translation, they can hunt you down, find you, and grab your child, all based on an unnoticed ex parte that was based on another unnoticed ex parte that was based on another unnoticed ex parte from another country that was procured by fraud. Zero due process, no hearing scheduled. It was like an in and out thing. What I've now figured out is exactly how children can be trafficked from one country to another with such great ease and right under the nose of the Attorney General. So, yeah, this is just, happens like it's the attorneys that are doing it. And they make deals with judges, or the judges are just stupid. And like, I just cannot believe that these judges issued these orders knowing what was going to happen. I mean, do you know there's no order ever anywhere in Canada that says, "Oh yeah, sure, you can take this child out of the country"? There's none, and that is required to take a child out of the country. If you either have to get the other parent's permission, or a valid court order that expressly says, yes, you can take this child out of the country. And of course, there has to be a hearing on it and an opportunity to be heard. But it appears that judges need to brush up on their due process or their understanding of due process, because it's fucking ridiculous. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a rocket scientist. It doesn't take much to figure out, so why the fact that they're doing this type of stuff without even a thought, knowing, come on, if you're a judge, you know that you can't do this shit. And you should be reprimanding attorneys and literally reporting them when they try to pull off this type of shit. When an attorney asks the judge for something that they know is not a thing, like, for example, Alex R. Chan asking Justice Millman of Vancouver Supreme Court, "Oh, can you please recognize this expired order from another country?" That's like, are you stupid? How could you, if the order is expired in another country, and which means it's not enforceable in the other country, it's full on expired, right? It's no longer enforceable. How the fuck can you go to another, judge in your country and say, "Oh, by the way, can you recognize this order?" Like, even if you want to have a court order like recognized properly, I think it's called domesticated. You have to have a hearing on it because Canada is under, and just like any other country, is under absolutely no obligation to take, to recognize a court order from another country. A court order from another country can't be used as evidence in a court proceeding. Anybody read the evidence code? Just because it's a court order, it doesn't, you don't know if it was procured by fraud. You don't know if the person had been served. So the evidence code says you can take judicial notice of the fact that it happened. But even then, you have to have an apostille in order to actually verify that this is an actual legitimate order. I mean, the order that Reed or his attorney just handed over, like, looks so ridiculous because it's the wrong. There's no clerk. The clerk stamp is an old clerk stamp from a clerk that no longer is the clerk of the court of Los Angeles. She retired. There's a brand new one since January, yet they're using the old clerk stamps. Oh my God, there's so many stupid things about it. So many things. I mean, that order, and not only that, there would never be an apostille on it because it's a temporary emergency order that was issued unnoticed. And they didn't have the authority because the child was not even physically present in the county or the California when the order was issued, which is a requirement. So, sorry I'm going off about this, but hopefully people out there, somebody out there knows what I'm talking about and understands what I'm saying. It's horrible to become somewhat of an expert of these, in this area just through lived experience. But that's why I go online and I try to talk about it, because if even just a tiny little thing that I say might say, wait, and give you some perspective of something in your own case, it's worth my time. So my case it continues to get an adjournment, more adjournment, because while Crown Counsel has absolutely no evidence to support her charges against me, can't give disclosure because there isn't any. I have been providing evidence, and I'm expecting a full withdrawal of the charges. So wish me luck, everybody. I will keep you all posted. And I'm hoping that this thing will get resolved quickly, and that I will have some really good news to share with everybody. And just hang in there. I know it's very difficult. So many of you parents are not seeing your children right now, and just remember to still try to find joy in your life. Still try to live your life, because this could take up pretty much the best years of your life. So make sure that you are taking care of yourself. They call it self-care. Make sure you're taking care of your mental health, and stay close to friends and family. Make sure you have a support system around you, because nobody can handle family court corruption alone. Anyways, thanks for listening, and I hope everyone is hanging in there, and I will check in with you probably in the next week or so. All right. Have a great day. Bye.